Hi everyone, welcome to this Hymo lap guide. I'm Tom, one of the engineers, and I'm going to be using my Audi lap here as a reference to give you some tips and tricks to tackle Bathurst this weekend, hopefully make you a little bit faster. Okay, so starting the lap here, as usual you want to open up the last corner as much as you can just to get as good of an exit as you can onto the start-finish straight. It's not too long here at Bathurst, so it doesn't matter too much, but you know, every hundredth counts. And then into turn one, you want to be braking around sort of 70 meters just past this pole you see on the right here. But I sort of use the 50 board as more of a visual reference and brake just a little bit before it, as you can see I do here. And because it's quite a slow speed corner and you really want to be pairing the exit because there's a long straight ahead, you want to roll onto the brakes nice and smoothly, as you can see right there. Don't hit too much peak pressure. I think I hit about 65–70% there, just to not spike the tyre temps, and that can really help in the race. But yeah, as soon as you start to turn in, lift off the brakes, go for a really late exit, and you want to get on the power as early as possible. You can see here, I start to get on power here already, before I'm even close to the apex. By the time I do reach the apex here, I'm almost full throttle already. And that's because you've got this big, long uphill straight ahead. So every bit you can gain on the exit there is going to help you all the way up the hill. I just play at full speed there, using all the track on the exit. And something I see a lot of people not doing is what I'm doing here up the straight, is running up the middle. Now, if you don't know this, it's because, well, if you go and do this yourself, you will notice there's sort of a bit of a lip in the middle of the track. It's kind of a bit pointy, a bit like that. And it's a bit similar to how it is at Le Mans, down those straights. And if you drive down the middle, I'm not 100% sure on the reason. I'm sure it's something to do with stalling the aero on the car, but it does make you quite a bit faster in straight line. So if you want a bit of free straight line speed, then do as I do here, run up the middle. And as long as your car isn't bottoming, so if you're on minimum springs on max fuel, maybe, then it's definitely a big gain all the way up here. And then coming into turn two, using the white wall on the left here or the tarmac, they're both at the exact same point really. It's whichever stands out to you more in your field of vision. You want to be on the brakes quite hard initially, and then you want to quickly lift off and start trailing off as you turn in. As it's uphill, that does help your braking, shorten your distance. So you're not really on the brakes for too long here, but yeah, like I said, peak fairly high initially, quickly roll off the brakes, and you really want to roll the car into this corner. If I change to cockpit here, you'll be able to see a bit better my steering input. You can see I'm not flicking the wheel in or anything. I'm a steady transition of lock on into this corner. The further you get in, the more like the corner, that's just kind of like time, a bit more grip on the front left. It's nice and cambered here on the inside. You've got plenty of traction if you get on. Look how quickly I get on the throttle there. Straight to 100%. As close to this apex as you can, but don't touch it, because if you do, it sort of unsettles the car a little bit, and it's going to cost you a lot of lap time. So get as close to this as you dare. Aggressive throttle application. Bring the car all the way out wide. You can go a little bit wider than that even and not lose any time. As long as you're not hitting the wall and scrubbing off speed, you should be okay, even if you bottom out a little bit on this curve here. But then coming over to the right, opening up the cutting as much as possible, right next to the wall here. Braking point for here on a hot lap is, you can see I'm still full throttle here, so just after this kink here in the wall, you want to start braking, so just about here. And you really want to be very smooth in this corner. You can see my brakes, I only reach about 50% maximum. And that's mainly because you're turning the whole way into this corner and the whole way throughout this section. And that sort of rule you really don't want to do on iRacing is braking and turning at the same time, or throttle and turning quite aggressively. You want to avoid that as much as possible. So as we're turning the whole way in here, you really want to keep your braking input quite low. The entry to this corner can be quite tricky because there's kind of two bits to the tarmac here. It's not very flat. There's sort of like a bit of a flat bit here, but then sort of to the left of where I've put the car here, it sort of drops a little. There's a little bit of a dip kind of in the track, you could say, and you don't want to be in that dip because first of all, you're not opening up the corner enough, and second, you're much lower. You're not going to have as much perch when turning in. Now, for some cars here, you can run it all the way up to this wall even. The Porsche is very nice here in that you can run very wide on entry, and it doesn't unsettle the car when you sort of come off here over the little bump in the road. In the car like the Audi here, I like to stay more in the middle, just on the edge of the little bump. Turning in, again, as soon as you want to start turning in properly for the forward corner, you want to lift straight off the brakes. Avoid crossing your inputs. Hug the wall as close as you can, and it's very important here to get a good exit because you're going to be flat out for that all the way up the hill, hopefully through the first left-hander, and you're going to get a lot of lap time with a very good exit here, especially as it's uphill. So again, aiming for quite a light exit. You can see as I do there, as close to the wall as you dare. Don't run too wide on the exit here. I don't like doing that personally. It just gives you a much better line for this right-hander here. Something that's quite good to get used to with this track is sort of lifting your right wheels up onto this curb. It's going to gain you a little bit. It's not really that much faster, but it's just better balance and better feeling wise. And this can also be a very good opportunity here if you're in a car that loses quite a lot on an upshift. So the McLaren, the Ferrari, you really want a short shift over this crest here. Just as the car goes over the bump, give it an upshift, and that will gain you a bit of time there. But as you can see, as I go over this crest here, I'm lifting my wheels up onto this curb, and that just means the wheels are landing sooner, you're getting more traction sooner, you're going to be faster. And then you're carrying that good exit all the way up the hill here. This is easy flat in these bit of pack temperatures here. It's quite low temperatures, but I assume, well, I know in the once you get to peak temperatures in the race, this can be quite a tricky corner. You're probably going to need quite a big lift here, quite a big one, a small lift. So just be wary there, and also in terms of tyre wear on your front left, just try to keep your steering input to a minimum. And then coming into one of the trickiest parts of the track are these two left-handers here. The first of which, again, in these temperatures, which is quite low, it's 21 air, 22 track. It's pretty easy flat here on sprint fuel, on race fuel as well. But again, once you get into the peak temperatures in the race, this is going to be a fairly sizable lift, and the car's going to also become a bit more unstable. So you really need to be wary of that. But you want to sort of keep your car in the middle of the road. You don't want to go too far to the left, because then you're gonna have a horrible line into the left-hander as you're not opening it up enough. But yeah, get as close to this wall as you can. You can get quite a bit of damage here. I ended up going out of the race a couple of years ago here because my teammate hit this wall. So just be careful, but it does gain you a lot of lap time. Just get as close to this wall as you can. And your turning point here is going to be just before the compression. So just before the car starts to compress here is where you want to turn in. You can see just about here. Just avoiding the wall. Easy flat in these temperatures. Don't touch this curb. It's going to push the car out wide. Although I say that, but the curb can actually be quite useful if you're in a car that you're struggling with oversteer. Say if it's getting to peak temperatures in the race, you're on worn tyres, you're in the Porsche or maybe the Mustang, and you can't take this flat out. And if you do this line here where you completely avoid the curb, you're getting too much oversteer. What you can do is just touch this curb with the front left. Make sure you're not turning too much when you do it. You're probably going to die if you do that, but it can be a useful tool just to sort of hit this curb a bit if you're struggling with oversteer, just to keep the car a bit settled and give it a little bit of understeer instead of oversteering. And then into the second left, you want to be, again, opening up as much as you can, as close to the wall as possible. I'm scraping it all the way in here. And your turning point is going to be just before the curb starts here. You can see if you watch my wheel input, you can see I start turning just about here, and you want your right wheels to sort of go across there, because if you turn in too early here and you completely avoid this curb, you're going to absolutely destroy your minimum in this corner, your minimum speed, because you've got the complete wrong line. You're going in way too tight. But if you turn in too late, if you turn in at the start of this curb and not here where I am, you're going to get to this crest, the front's going to lift up and you're going to understeer, and then you're going to be all the way over to the right and you're never going to make the apex here. So you want to turn in just about here, just before the curb. Your right wheels are going to cross, but then once I get to the crest here, look where I'm pointing. I'm pointing sort of around here, which when the car starts to compress again, when the front comes back down, I'm going to have the perfect line here into this corner. You'd have to be quite wary in this corner in cars like the Porsche in the compression zone. It likes to die here. It's quite sketchy, the Porsche in this corner, so just be wary, especially in the hot temps. Just my advice would be, if you are struggling with oversteer, just lift off, give it a bigger lift into the corner, carry less speed in. Once the car's settled, you know you're not going to spin, throttle out of the corner, and keep the steering input to a minimum. That's really important. Using all of the track on the exit, riding this curb on the exit here, and then immediately all the way back over to the left to open up Skyline, which is probably for most people the scariest part on the track. And the entry to here is actually really important, because myself, I'm quite guilty of going in way too fast here. And if you do that, what'll happen is, you gain all the way down here up to about here, but then because you're carrying so much speed, you're going to be way over to the left, sort of around here at this point, and it's going to give you a horrible entry into the dipper, and you're going to have a terrible exit all the way down to Forrest Elbow, which can lose you a lot of time, despite however much you gain from going in really fast here. So just practice this a lot. It's a very important part of the track in terms of time gain. But what I do is I lift just before the, if I get rid of that, just before the orange sign here. Don't brake, because what happens if you brake here is the front will compress. You'll have more weight on the front nose, and the rear is going to step out, which is really not what you want at this part of the track. That's going to be a very big moment. So just a lift. I sort of have a bit of a conscious input on the brake there. That's not really intentional, but full lift, turn in, aim for the wall, and then once you get to the wall and the car's gone over the crest, the front's come back down, then you can start to brake. You see here I pile on quite a bit for heavy brake input. Probably too heavy actually. I don't think you really want to go that high. I would say at least, especially in the race, you only really want to be going to maybe 50-60% here, just to help with tyre wear and thermal deg. And then again, as I'm going to be changing direction here, I'm going to be turning left. You want to lift back off the brakes as you start turning left, and then as you land and you've got a straight line for this apex, get back on the brakes again, just to stop the car a bit more for the right-hander here. Again, aiming, just get as close to the wall as you can. And it's really important here. The exit out of the dipper, you can gain a lot of time here by setting up the exit. If you're slightly too far to the left here, if you drift too far to the left coming around this right-hander, you can have a horrible line into it, and you're going to lose 2-3 tenths down towards Forrest Elbow. So try to keep your right wheels inside this white line here. There is sort of a little bit of a dip, it feels like. That's not really what it is, but it can help tuck the car around if you have your right wheels where I do here. Stay as close to the wall as you can. For the dipper, there's sort of a couple phases in the steering that you want to go through. So if I go to cockpit here, you can see as I come around the right, bearing the engine to the left, I flick my steering to the left here just to initiate the change of direction and quite aggressively load up the front right tire. But then as I go over the crest, I'll play in slow motion actually. If I slow it down here, so hug in the corner, flick the car into the left, but then as you go over the crest, straighten the wheel back up again, and then turn again when you land. What that does, as you're going over the crest, again, the front's going to lift up, you're going to understeer, and if you're turning as you go over that crest, you're going to find the rear stepping out a lot when you land. So if you're having troubles in the dipper, this is probably what you're doing wrong, is you're holding the steering as you're going over the bump, which is not what you want to do. You really want to straighten the wheel out, as I do there, and then turn it again when you land. Yeah, and another good tip for the dipper is, if I go back to cockpit, you can see it. If I pause it here, it looks like I'm heading for the wall, doesn't it? If there wasn't a crest here and a dip, I'd be in the wall. But that's because you go over the crest, the front lifts up, you understeer. Luckily for me, I missed the wall. So if you want to be really fast here, you do sort of have to be turning in initially as if you're going to be hitting the wall, which can be quite tricky to get used to. But if you're wanting to unlock that little bit of extra performance, then that's a tip for you. So get on the throttle aggressively again, as close to the walls as you can, using the grass on the right. You can use the grass here, it doesn't really unsettle the car that much, it just gives you the freedom to get on the throttle sooner, get a much better exit. Try not to hit the wall here. And then to Forrest over, then you want to be staying on the left here, just to open up the right. Get as close to the wall as you can here. Do be careful though, because it's a very common spot to get some damage. And you really want to roll onto the brakes here, because it's a slow speed corner. So you want to load up the front tires as much as you can, and especially as it's downhill, it's a downhill braking zone. You don't want to go in too fast, as it's very easy to miss the corner. And getting this corner right can gain you a lot of lap time, because you can see right next to the wall there's quite a big dip. So if you really nail this, if you get right next to the wall, it's going to give you so much rotation. You're going to be able to get on the throttle way sooner, very aggressively. You see, look where I'm getting on the throttle here. I'm already here, so I'm anticipating how much the car's going to turn, because I know I'm very close to the wall. And the throttle also helps to rotate the car here. So yeah, really try to get as close to here as you can. It just allows you to get such a good exit down this hill. And again, like the first back straight in sector 1 up the hill, you want to go down the middle again here, because it's got the same sort of pointy lip in the middle of the track. It's gonna, I don't want to say solely out, because I don't know if that's the case, but it does make you faster in a straight line. So you're gonna, it's just free straight line speeds all the way down the hill towards the chase. I don't think anybody's going to complain about that. So then coming into the last sector, straighten up your braking. Braking just after the 150. It's obviously going to be a bit earlier on full fuel in the race. But again, be quite smooth here on the brakes. You can brake quite heavily, obviously, because you're going very fast. You've got a lot of aero on the car. And then once you start to turn in, lift off the brakes, give it a bit of a trail, and get as close to clipping the apex here as you can. I personally like to hold quite high gear here. I'm holding third in the Audi. I like to hold third in a lot of cars, because I think minimum in this corner, minimum speed is very important, as opposed to getting a better exit, because it's quite a short straight here down to the last corner. So really try to keep your minimums up here. Hooking this curb here on the exit, just because I've carried so much minimum through here, I'm all the way over on the right, which you can do. You can even go on the grass here actually, but I wouldn't advise that. It's only for the esports drivers really. It's quite tricky to do consistently. Riding this curve the whole way around, just so you don't end up on the grass over here. And then one corner left, which is is actually another very tricky corner because again it's downhill braking here, and it's even, I wouldn't say off camber, but it's you're very prone to understeering here, especially on one tires. This corner is absolutely horrible. So be very smooth in this corner. Brake quite early. I've put way too much brake on here. Ignore what I've done. Yeah, braking just after the 100. Yeah, as you can see there, sort of 90 meters. Downshift in seconds. Turning in. Late apex again. And then throttling out using all the track on the exit. You can go on the grass here. You don't lose anything from it, but just it can drag you out further. So be careful of getting the 1x, especially in quali. And yeah, there's luck with Bathurst.